Hello, this is Lady Boule, and thank you for clicking on the video. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel, and we are commanded to love one another. There's a video that has gone viral of a young Somali woman running in the FISU University Games. She's representing Somalia in the 100-meter race. And what she did was quite extraordinary. And so just take a look at this.
在亚锦赛也跑进过决赛，拿到过前8。在 U20 亚锦赛上也拿到过奖牌。我们来看看这一枪的表现。好的，选手出发，席尔瓦莫劳现在的领先还是比较有优势的。石川优在这个阶段逐渐开始掉队了。席尔瓦莫劳处在第1位，率先撞线，全力的去冲啊！这一枪11秒58，到最后似乎想收着劲儿跑，但是已经收不住。在第9道的印度选手施万卡，包括第2道的。
Well, at least she finished the race. She did come across the finish line, or she skipped across the finish line. Her name is Nasra Abuka Ali, and she has created a sensation around Somalia's international athletics vetting process after taking more than 20 seconds to finish a 100-meter race. The Brazilian winner finished in 11.58 seconds, and the Somali, this young lady, finished in 21.81 seconds. So she's 10 seconds behind the winner. But she did finish. It was the slowest that the 100-meter race had ever been run in international competition. So this young lady has been held up as kind of mockery. Everybody's sort of making fun and laughing at her because she came in last place. She's clearly not trained, and she doesn't quite get how the sport is run. But this goes way beyond a sporting event, in my opinion. This goes to Somalia, what's going on in Somalia, not just a vetting process for athletes. I mean, yeah, this is important to somebody. But when you're looking at a country like Somalia, it raises other kinds of questions about how they are investing in their young people. This is the young lady herself. And this interview from last week, when she was heading to China, sort of clarifies that she wasn't expecting a 100-meter run. She says, "My name is Nasra Abuka Ali, and I'm very happy to represent Somalia. I will be running 10 meters in China. I hope that I can win." So she's saying it's a 10-meter run, and it's really the 100-meter run. So again, she doesn't even understand the race, but she wanted to represent her country. So this is an interview she gave after the race. And the person who wrote the heading said, "If you don't speak Somali, you've missed out on the real comedy of the slow runner fiasco." She's now saying that people should be thankful that she repped Somalia in the front of the world and that no one would have performed better than her. See, I believe her. She wanted to represent her country, and they should be thankful. At least now she probably has embarrassed Somalia enough that they will either train their athletes or forbid them to leave the country trying to compete. And for the sake of the young people in Somalia, I hope some good will come out of it. Because what she's saying is, I'm the best they got, and this is the best I could do. So what that screams is that they need to train their athletes. Somalia is in East Africa. East Africans dominate these long-distance marathons in the United States. Between Kenya, Ethiopia, and Uganda, they don't win those marathons, or they're going to come in a very close second. And it's usually going to be an Ethiopian or a Kenyan and an Ethiopian in first or second place. What that means to me is that Somalia needs to get with the 21st century and let their young people be a part of world athletic competitions. Clearly, they want to come into the 21st century with everybody else. They want to be a part of the international community. That's my takeaway from it. So what happens when all of your country's resources are depleted to the point that you can't invest anything in your young people? What kind of country will you ultimately be when you have run half of them out because of a civil war, and they're refugeeing all over the place, including in the United States, and you have the ones who are left who are trying to represent the country? At least they're not fleeing, they're trying, but it seems like there's nothing left. There's nothing left to invest in the young people. That's tragic, because if you're going to survive as a country, you have to invest in your young people. They can't be all over the world refugeeing, running from their own people in their own country. And it also says something else about Somalis, and this might be a more sensitive aspect of it, but how well do they work with the other leaders and the other nations in Africa? Because they're like the Dominican. I'm not black, I'm Somali. I'm not an African, I'm Somali. Well, you're in Africa. And as one West African pointed out, if you're not an African, what the hell are you doing in Africa? Somalia is on the continent of Africa. They're neighboring Ethiopia and Kenya and Djibouti. I gotta look at the map. But they're surrounded by other African nations. It really raises all kinds of questions about how Africans view themselves compared to other Africans and in the international community. Some of them like to run around saying they're Arabs. Well, it's just like a black American saying that we're white because we have European ancestry. We are not white, even though most black Americans have European ancestry. Most of the Somalis probably do have Arab ancestry, but that doesn't make you an Arab, and they don't recognize Somalis as being Arabs. They look upon them as being slaves. They don't look up on them as being them, but they want to represent as being Arabs because they've been mixing with Arabs, maybe, I don't know. But there's a reason they run around calling themselves Arabs, because they're not even what is called the Middle East, even though there's no such thing as the Middle East. But they're not even in the area that they call the Middle East. Somalia is right here in Africa. It's right here on the ear. They call it the ear of Africa. But that's on Africa. It's in the Horn of Africa. And they have always had problems with food. They've always had these droughts where they have crop failures. And so they have an insecure food supply. So they've always had to migrate and run to a certain extent. But the question now is, how are they working with each other, and how are they working with other African nations? You have young people there who want to be a part of the international community, and they really do seem to have an identity crisis. They've got to make up their minds who they are, because if they're not Africans, they say they're not Africans, and the Arabs say they're not Arabs, then what are they? So it seems like a big problem in Somalia is identity. They come to the United States getting mad because somebody calls them black. Somalia is not an island, it's not a continent, and it's not a planet. It's a country on a continent. And they look a lot like the rest of the people on that continent. Somalis don't look all that different from other East Africans. They do have a different look from West Africans, but that look is not so different that they look like they belong to a different race than the other black people of Africa. So it's the age-old problem in Africa. The people won't work together. The nations won't work together. The tribes won't work together. Therefore, it's easy for the enemies of Africa to come in, divide, conquer, rule, and benefit from all that Africa has to offer. And when they come to America and black Americans call them black, they're not trying to be offensive. They actually look black to black Americans. And so when they get mad, it's confusing to many black Americans. Many black Americans probably don't interact with them at all and don't care. But for the ones who do interact with them, it's confusing. Like, if you're not black, then what are you? But you need to question what you are and what your place in the world is if you can't stay in the country that you call your home, that you're so proud of, and build it. You're in America talking about, I'm Somali and how proud you are, but you can't live in Somalia. And the ones who are living in Somalia can't build because there's still all of this infighting. So I applaud the young lady for finishing the race. I don't care what everybody else says about her. At least she came across the finish line. The Somali community, whether you are in the diaspora, and really, let's be clear about this diaspora. Every time an African now flies out of Africa and goes somewhere else, they start calling themselves the diaspora. The real diaspora are African Americans and Caribbeans and Latin American and South Americans who were brought out of Africa in slave ships. We are the real diaspora. The rest of those Negroes are just immigrants. But let's go with the idea that they're diasporans. If they're the Somali diaspora, it would seem to me that they would try to at least connect with their homeland and try to build up their homeland like other immigrants who have come to the West have done. So you can have young people like this young woman who wants to be a part of the international community and the international sports community. Give her a chance. Give others a chance. Do something in Somalia besides fight each other and run. Somalia is saying, and it sounds like it might be a face-saving thing to say, is that this young lady was out there representing Somalia because she is the relative of the person who made the decision about who would represent the country. So that lady has either been suspended or fired from her job to let everybody know they're serious about what she did. But I go back to what the young lady said. She said, I was the best they had. Nobody could have performed any better. So that remains in question. But Somalia has at least tried to give an explanation as to why she was out there running. Okay, y'all, it's none of my business. But I don't see her. Everybody else is laughing and making fun of this young lady. But I'm not doing that because I think it's a deeper problem than just her wanting to come and run. Regardless to who she's related to, she wanted to represent her country. And she did that. And I don't think it's a joke. I mean, I feel bad for those young people. But anyway, what say you? Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.